Hey, welcome to Pink Pearl Tarot. I'm Eleanor, and this is a VR to Tarot is Magic, and it's her hashtag Tarot Through the Plants. She has the Herb Crafters Tarot, in which she took 22 cards and used them as an inspiration prompt to show 22 decks for 22 different purposes. I don't have the Herb Crafters Tarot, but I can still do the prompts anyway. I saw that she tagged my name. She mentioned me in the description. I was like, made me feel like I was part of the cool crowd getting picked to do something. So I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to show off 22 of my decks for the different reasons. So anyway, the first prompt is inspired by the card for Lavender, and that is a deck I use for meditation. And so I chose the Mystic Mondays Tarot for this. It is really evocative for as minimal as it is, probably because it's so colorful. It kind of cuts right to the subconscious, and it bypasses wordy or situational suggestions, so I can just feel the images and quiet my analytical mind. And I struggle to make myself sink into that frame of mind, always trying to outrun boredom. And so this deck, it almost does it for me. It makes it exciting or delicious somehow to go into that mind frame. So that is my answer to Lavender for meditation. The next prompt is Calendula. A deck is good for creative flow. And for this one, I chose the Cook's Tarot because of how earthy it is and how creative cooking can be. And all of these scenes of people in their kitchens and enjoying life, it makes me want to tap into my creativity to make something or to beautify something in my environment. So, which to me, it feels less like the fire energy of the original prompt and the inspiration from the Art Crafters Tarot, and more like an earth energy because of the physicality that is sewing and cooking and painting and all of that stuff. So I don't usually need a lot of inspiration idea-wise, but usually I need more motivation to put my creativity into practice, and this one does that for me. So the next prompt is Sunflower, a deck for planting seeds of manifestation. And for this one, I chose the Raven's Prophecy. It's because of the rich black fertility of it, like dark soil, and yet it has this kind of orange ring around it, very much like sunflower, that reminds me of the creative energy of the sacral chakra. So I have a lot of these. My choices, they feel different to the original Herb Crafters card meaning. And some of these, there's a lot of overlap also in the meanings, but so this one might seem flip-flopped from the Creative Flow one, but for some reason, this is how they resonate for me for those purposes. So that is for planting manifestation seeds, sunflower. The next one is Nasturtium, celebrate my authentic self. And I, for this one, chose the Spirit Within. Let's see, which is easier? Is it easier to go this way? No, it's easier to go this way. Okay, so he left these figures blank so that you can sort of superimpose your own identity into the scene. And it feels more like a mirror than any other deck that I have. And I also like the contemporary scenery because I don't connect really well with a lot of the medieval or the fantasy settings as much. But because it strips away any faces, I'm not distracted from connecting with the observer that lives behind my ego and my identity. So that is Nasturtium. The next prompt is Cinnamon, to connect, to remember who I am and to connect with my ancestors. Oh, clumsy. All right, so for this one, I chose this metal deck, metal themed music deck. I'm gonna go this way. Because this is the music I like to listen to when I need to get back into my power and pump myself up. I mean, any music does that really. Music always reminds me of who I am. It reminds me to straighten my back. It remembers that I'm a badass. And it just refills my cup. It refills my veins. And also, music is in my family as well. Not metal so much, but... Anyway, that's a really, really cool deck. It's very big for my hands, though. Okay, the next one is Chamomile, a deck for calming stress. And for this one, I chose the Shadowscapes Tarot. because every card is so beautiful, even the challenging ones. Everything feels so magical and fluid, and it's that fluidity that I find calming because nothing is stuck and it's not rigid. And I use this one for events because there's no imagery that would be anxiety inducing or off-putting or scary or put anyone on the defensive. So I get an encouraging reading every time with this deck. I just used it at a wedding this weekend and it gave some beautiful messages for everybody. Okay, so the next prompt is Ginger for inspiration. Now this might seem like a weird choice, but I went with the Bosch Tarot because it is so out there and so strange. And it shakes me out of the trance of autopilot that I can sometimes get into. It kicks me out of the box, so to speak. So it's fun to read from because the imagery is so different and only loosely representational of the traditional meanings. And so I can get so many different angles of interpretation that I don't get from either a representational or even a minimal deck, which is totally open, but this shows like the weirder angle. I'm sorry I'm not looking at you. I'm trying to make sure the cards are not giving off a glare or I'm not like covering them with my stupid hands or something. So for Valerian, it's a deck to use before bed. Now, I couldn't choose. I have 3 that I chose. I chose the Edmond Du Lac, the John Bauer, and the Rackham Tarot. So I'll just try to show a little bit of each. I chose these because these were the illustrations in the books that I had as a kid. Many of them were read to me at bedtime. So that's the Du Lac. This is the John Bauer. So this is the artwork of my childhood bedtime stories. The scenery is all very dreamy and it stimulates the subconscious more than the conscious because it isn't loud or colorful or wakey, eggs and bakey, very energy. But it's full of creatures and luxe environments and sparsity and dream language to me. So all 3 of those would be my bedtime favorites because they remind me of my childhood bedtime storybooks. Okay, so next we have Turmeric, my workhorse deck, and I have a great one. This is, I'm sorry, I should have turned up the reversals so there's not reversals, but this is the Tarot of the Magical Forest, and this deck goes with me to the outdoor week-long festivals, fairs. This deck works for 8 to 10 hours at a time. In some cases, at least one time was a full day. But like events like that, it is non-stop, morning till night, and it's adorable, and it carries the same weight, but the subtle cuteness takes the edge off without being tacky. So it is a general crowd pleaser, and it has worked with me for entire weekends at a time, giving great messages that at the same time it's inviting, it's not scary, but it's not cutesy either. Alright, so next we have Cacao, Connect to the Divine. So I chose, this is my mushroom deck, this is the Midnight Magic. And it's hard to articulate why exactly, but there is a mystery to mushrooms to me. It's a feeling of, there's a feeling of sentience that I can't explain, and plus to me, divinity is commonly sought inward or upward, and rarely do we look down into the dirt and down into the mundane. And all of that is permeated by, or rather is, divinity. So these mushrooms, they kind of speak to me the way the Bible story says that the burning bush spoke to Moses. Not that I am of that faith, but it kind of works as a metaphor. So that is my deck for connecting to divinity. Alright, so next is Cannabis, a deck that will give me the honest truth. And I chose the Fountain Tarot. I felt a weight to it the first time I picked it up, and to not ask it anything lightly or anything that I really did not want to hear, because I would definitely hear it. Like the first time I tried to get to know it, it was very clear that it was going to be respected, and in return, it would provide me with that honesty. So that is the Fountain Tarot. The next one is Eucalyptus, a deck for making decisions. And so for that, I chose the Animal Wise Tarot. Mostly, though, because of the guidebook. Usually I do read intuitively, but this one provides some excellent self-inquiry prompts if I'm needing something to hold my hand more. And I've used it in my pick a card videos on that topic as well, for sorting through options and decisions for that reason. So that is the Animal Wise Tarot for decision making. Birch, a deck for discerning emotions or liminal spaces. And so this is going to be probably an unexpected choice, but I like the Science Tarot for discerning emotions. I don't use this one enough, honestly. I love this one, but I don't think I would be served by a deck that stirs emotions for this. I need the opposite. I need something that plants me and plucks me out of the whirlpool of emotions and into the dry air mental energy. And it gives me something to, I'm sorry, I was drifting way off camera there. It gives me something to learn with lots of good metaphors and thought experiments. So that is the Science Tarot I use for discerning emotions. The Oak prompt is a deck for slowing down and reassessing. And I have the Guardian Tarot for that. So it's one I have to use the guidebook for, even though I've had it for years and years, and I can read it intuitively. But even though the names are the same, the creator went really a different direction with a lot of these meanings. So it can work intuitively, but one would be wrong if you were to look at what the artist had intended. But that's why it makes me slow down. Like, you can't just be off to the races with it and assume you know what it's trying to say. It invites meditation and then further research on top of that to see what the artist was trying to get to. Now, some people might be able to read that guidebook and memorize it. I'm not the one. I'm not that person. Cattail, clarity, letting go, and moving on. So I have the White Sage Tarot. I really wish I had turned all these reversals upside down. I'm so sorry. But the soft colors and the animals, they feel kind, I guess. The meanings are straightforward. They're what you'd expect. But there's a feeling of continuity to it because it's like with the ribbons that weave throughout, and that when you let go or move on, you're moving towards something else, or something else is coming in. And again, it's that cute but not cutesy feeling. Oh, look. Hey, Greg, check out the sloth. Okay. Golden Seal, a deck for grief. And for this one, I chose the Tarot Leaves. This is the same artist that did the Guardian Tarot. I can't explain exactly why. Probably because one of the kings in here, it could be the Emperor. I'm not going to dig it up, but it reminds me of my dad who passed in 2018. So the artwork is gentle, and it's just a feeling. Not much to gab about it. So, White Sage, a deck to keep you in check. So I chose the Frau Grand Duchess Tarot. It is brutally honest, very much like the Fountain Tarot. But this one, I guess because of the imagery, it feels more like a finger wag to me. I think the honesty is the same between this one and that one, but the imagery makes me feel... The delivery feels more like a call out than the Fountain Tarot. So that's why I chose that one for honesty and this one for keeping me in check. So, Elder, a deck that I use for rituals. Now, this is kind of odd. I don't really do many rituals, but, so I don't have one deck for this or like even many ritual practices other than I have a monthly theme card, and this is my theme card from Healing with the Fairies for April. And so I use the card to pick my coffee at like a special. I like branding on coffee. Like coffee all kind of tastes the same. So I like, ooh, that one's got a cool picture. That one's from a place I've never heard of. Or I'll like, I don't know. I'm weird that way, but or like a new crystal that has a meaning associated with it. It's how I choose the artwork for my thumbnails. And I hold it as a focal point. So, of course, the deck that I use for my daily card, which is also a ritual, I guess, that would fall into that ritual. So this is my theme for April, and so I'll look for something in there, and I went with purple butterflies. So that means that the butterfly effect tarot would be my deck for April. I know it was a long way to get to that, but so I use this to pull my daily card this month in April. So like the purple butterflies become a sigil of sorts just for the month. I mean, I do actually create a unique sigil for each one, but anyway. That means that April, I am using this tarot deck for my daily card. And that's the closest thing to ritual that I get. So it'll be a new one, a totally different one for May. Actually, May is the Line Strider Tarot. I think I've already picked it out to go with. Solitude is May. All right. Anyway, that was a tangent. So Mint, a refreshing deck. And I chose Affirmator's deck for this one. The colors are so vibrant and so fresh. And the animals are so full of movement. So I find this to be an invigorating and refreshing deck. Very colorful, very happy. Sorry, this has got to go. Okay, Echinacea, a deck for healing. Here we are. So for this one, I chose the Harmony Tarot. I need to practice getting my fingers out of the way. I can tell I'm running out of steam because these are getting shorter. Anyway, to heal, we sort of have to get out of the way and not force something to happen. And this deck invites that for me. The guidebook also, it has some practicality to it, which can be helpful to get you to do more than just sit in your feelings, which is necessary, but is not the whole process. So that's why I like this deck for healing. The next one is Rose, Beauty and Love. I chose the Enchanted for Hexa Tarot. I used it for some love readings a while back, and it gave some really beautiful messages for that. It's gorgeous, the messages were powerful, and it's honest too. And I just think the fairies are beautiful. I just happened to use it for the love readings, like just on a whim, and it was actually well suited to it. So that's why I chose that one. The last prompt is Dandelion, anything is possible. And for that, I chose Curious Creatures. Again, it's really not related to the artwork specifically, just the type of messages that it tends to deliver for me. So I'm out of words, and apparently, so I don't have anything more to say about it, but let's see if I can't turn some of these upright so you're not always looking at them reversed. See, I turned the whole thing around and then they ended up being the other way around. So anyway, thank you, Tarot is Magic, for inviting me to weigh in and show off more of my decks and my opinions. What a cool theme this was, for real. And it really made me think differently about my collection, and I'm feeling more grateful for it now than ever. Instead of, it kind of helped with a little bit of that deck envy that was starting to sink in. So if that's happening for you, jump into this tag. I recommend it. I had a good time, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Thanks, guys.